Hello everyone, just a quick word from your friendly editor/husband. For all of you who listen to So I'm Watching This Show and own an Android device, do me a favor. Go to the Google Play Store and download the Podcast Republic app. It's a fantastic app that allows you to get all of your favorite podcasts directly on your Android devices. I use the app and love it. I can search for the podcasts I want to listen to, select them as favorites, and have them all just a click away. Make sure you set So I'm Watching the Show as a favorite so you don't miss any new episodes. Again, the app is Podcast Republic, available on your Android device. Thanks!
Did you see this thing on Twitter about the visualizing an apple?
No.
It's interesting. I might have to send you the picture. Hold on.
Okay.
But I'll start by saying, I'm telling you right now to imagine an apple. You can take a second if you need to. But
Okay.
close your eyes and imagine an apple.
Okay.
Now, what are you seeing?
I mean, an apple.
Okay, well then go ahead and click on this link I just sent you.
Yeah, like number 1.
Okay. A lot of people are apparently like 4 and 5.
What?
Yeah, they like understand what the concept of an apple is, but it's like, because somebody was like, "You're seeing things in your mind." I was like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I was like, I have to do the work. Like, it's like I have to actually imagine. Like when I start at a 5, but then I'm like, well, what is it? And so, because I was like, mine, I kind of like zoomed in a little bit, like it's sort of like floating and drifting in space, like a Mac presentation.
Huh.
I was like, and then it's kind of got like, mine was really shiny. So it's like, what one, I have to do the work, but I was like, yeah, I can see color. Like I can see the.
Yeah, I can imagine a red apple that looks as it would in reality. How fucking weird.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I can like
crazy.
conjure up the image in my mind. That's bizarre. That just blew my mind.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching the Show. On today's episode, we are going to talk about Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. I also told Sade that we would talk about the Super Bowl halftime show, but it'll probably be like a minute.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I didn't even watch it, so.
Oh, you didn't even watch it? God, no. Kristen.
I hate it.
The halftime show?
I hate all of it.
Well, I mean, I know you don't like football. I like the celebration of it. Like I
was already watching something else, and I like J-Lo and Shakira, but I was not going to stop watching what I was watching to flip over to watch that for 15 minutes.
Oh God, well I did. I literally stopped everything I was doing, but no, it was super good. You should have watched it. Okay, so for Harley Quinn, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with sort of like establishing the movie? Do you want to address any of the stuff people are talking about with it? Or do you want to go right into what we thought?
Let's go right into what we thought, because I think those other things will come up along the way.
Okay. So, I am going to go ahead and establish it a little bit. It's like a sequel. Would you call it a light reboot? I guess I don't think it's a reboot, but
no, because it does follow along pretty strictly after the events of Suicide Squad. So I don't think it's like a reboot. It's like a. But
you also don't have to have seen a single DC movie up until this point either.
No, definitely not.
What did you think?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun. I was talking about it with Will last night after you went home, and I was like, do I have some slight criticisms? Of course. But for me, it's the type of thing, and it gets into a place, and I can't say that I like it specifically because of this, because I don't. But part of me is like, you know what? This is like maybe it's medium, maybe that's fine. It's for ladies, I guess, and I fucking loved that part of it. So like easily the fact that it was for me specifically put like 40% extra. Like it bumped it up a half a letter grade. You know what I mean? Where like I have some issues with the villains and the fact that the Birds of Prey are not actually part of it. But like there's not enough Birds of Prey. But I liked it. And I don't care if it was medium. I want more of this kind of medium. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I liked it too. there's a weird, I guess, backlash about it that's happened with any movie even remotely geared towards women other than like the standard romantic comedy fare for the past few years.
Even still, though, we are shamed for enjoying that.
Yeah. And I don't fully understand it. And when I say that, I'm not being naive. It's like I of course understand narratives, but there's a part of me, and I guess it's the part of me that believes people are good and like wants to see the best in people. There's a part of me that I'm like, it can't be that stupid. There has to be something further beneath the surface. And so there's a group of people who don't like this movie because they perceive it as social justice warrior stuff. And because they say that it's not trying at all to appeal to the male base that is sort of the foundation of the comic book industry.
Right.
And I want to know specifically, what does that mean? Is it, because I kind of refuse to believe that by that they mean they want bikinis and stuff, like tits and ass. And it's like, there's an element of that, sure, but there's also an element of that in the movie. Like,
well, as I've been telling you since before the 2016 election, they really just are that stupid sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes people really just are that stupid, and they're like, her tits aren't out, and there's not a man I can relate to, and she is not presenting herself to be fucked by me, therefore I don't want it.
I just feel like
it's wrong.
That's so, like, I really feel like that was left in the 90s. I'm like, are we
Absolutely
still having this conversation? And the one thing I will say for people who subscribe to that way of thinking, that they don't like this movie because they consider it propaganda, liberal propaganda and feminist propaganda and all that, regardless of whether or not I agree with them, because I don't, I can understand and relate to the feeling that a political movement has infiltrated something you love and is using it as a tool to try and change people and preach to people. It's like, I can understand that train of thought, but at the end of the day, it's a movie. It really is just a movie. I mean, I know it's engineered to make money. I know it's engineered to sell stuff, but... Well,
yes, but also to that, I would say, what do you think Superman was? What do you think Captain America was? What do you think all these people were? They were propaganda. It to begin with, in the comic books, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, those people were propaganda for like literally Captain America punches Nazis in the face. It's the kind of thing where you all of a sudden think that this is doing something damaging to the product that you've always loved, when in reality, these products have always been the work of subversive people putting propaganda out there for what they believe in. And that's the kind of thing that I can't abide.
And it's not you anymore.
Exactly, but you are not the subversive thing anymore. And so there is absolutely a need right now for a girl gang movie where these women down on their luck who have been victimized in the past band together to save a young girl from going through the same thing they went through. There's something to be said for that, and we need it right now. And to be frank, I don't really care what a bunch of chodes in their basements think about that.
I mean, I don't care about it, but it is putting a burden on the movie that the movie doesn't need or deserve. Because
I for sure agree with that.
I have a pretty basic understanding of the DC comic verse and Harley Quinn as a character. She's relatively newer when you consider, the legacies of these people, but in her current iteration, as I understand it, this is fairly accurate.
Yeah.
They kind of retconned her very problematic backstory. And one of my first issues was I didn't think this should have been Birds of Prey. I thought this should have been Gotham City Sirens, which is Harley with Catwoman and Poison Ivy. And I really clung to that up until halfway through the movie last night. And then what?
No, that checks. I did, before you finish, I do want to say that in the trivia, according to them, this was planned as the first of a sequel, the second of which will be Gotham City Sirens.
Well, it's because they started with Gotham City Sirens, and then Margot, who is very involved in the entire production. She's not just an actress showing up for her paycheck.
She produced.
She's the one that steered it more towards Birds of Prey. And I initially perceived that as it's like, I was kind of like, Margot, I get what you're going for, but you are not an expert in this. And I think you're maybe, I was thinking she was making a mistake, but halfway through, because I kind of was like, how do you even do Birds of Prey without Barbara Gordon? We've somehow, with the exception of Alicia Silverstone, not met Barbara Gordon, and she's a character in the DC universe. But
yeah, which also that was Tiffany from Black Girls Do Stuff Too. That was her major complaint. She was like, I love Birds of Prey. Where is Barbara Gordon? And I was like, oh, see, I don't have that problem.
And so when I said that I clung to the Gotham City Sirens until halfway through this movie, there was a part of halfway through the movie, I was like, okay. Now, granted, it's a gamble because it's judging that this movie is successful. But I was like, Catwoman and Poison Ivy are two very large guns. And it might be better or more exciting to build to them than to blow your wad. You know what I mean? Like coming right out of the... And the other factor is Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, to my understanding, limited a little bit, but they have a romantic relationship. And we are, for some godforsaken reason, still married to the old world when it comes to big movies. And they still cannot seem to allow for same-sex romance in these movies. And it boggles my mind, because I understand the reasoning is that there's a handful of countries, one of which is China, which is a huge market. I mean, have you ever seen a sequel for a movie and been like, how did that get a sequel? It was probably big in China.
Yeah.
I do get that.
Yes, but okay, I get it too, but
at a certain point,
there's literally no excuse why Chris Messina and Ewan McGregor did not hard make out in this movie.
No, it would have made them infinitely more interesting.
Yeah.
It would have made the movie infinitely more interesting. And there's a certain point where it's like the John Boyega and Oscar Isaac in Star Wars, where Oscar was really pushing, like hard pushing for it, and Disney was just like, not yet. And it's like, I get that, because in the moment, it could be extremely controversial and possibly even like on that day, it could lose money. But I was like, think about the long term. Like, there's no reality where we're not heading in this direction. So I was like, it's kind of like, remember for several months, Barack Obama's views on marriage were evolving.
Yeah.
And then he came out and did it. And so it's like, now for the rest of history, he gets to be the one that threw down that gauntlet. And it's like, don't you want to throw down that gauntlet? Don't you want to be the person who does this, even if it means taking a slight hit in the moment? And I guess not, because that's where the whole business of making money comes in. I think people would be more receptive to it with women, with Harley and Poison Ivy.
Well, people have always been more receptive to it with women.
Yeah, and I do think that there's a fair amount of subtext that I would allow. We're getting into very Xena and Gabrielle season 4 and 5 place here, which again only bums me out more, because I'm like, we've already made these strides in the late 90s. How did they get reset? And I know the Bush administration, blah, blah, blah. I understand, but it's annoying. So, I'm stuck down this hole.
You're like, I'm here. I can't go anywhere else. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, I for me, it wasn't glaring in this one that Harley Quinn didn't do anything with like a woman. It would because especially they made comments about it. Like, she's it's kind of blink and you miss it, like it always is. But Margot Robbie also has come out and said her Harley Quinn is specifically bisexual. So that is great. But again, with the Ewan McGregor and Chris Messina, there were like multiple moments where I was like, just fucking kiss, man. Like, it was unbelievable. So I agree with you across the board. Yeah,
that does bring me back broad again, where it was like, this is a Harley Quinn movie, and I wish it could just be what it is without the conversation around it. And I know that I perpetuated that conversation, but I feel like it was inevitable or unavoidable.
I feel though that you have to address it. Otherwise, if you don't address the backlash and you're just like, I don't know why this isn't doing well at the box office. Because like,
I don't think it's not going to. That's the problem. And I wanted to say this is a Harley Quinn movie, and I want to talk to some of my friends who actually because I have two friends, Donna and Christina, who are very passionate about the character, and they were not they did not like Suicide Squad and how they handled it in Suicide Squad. And so I would be curious to see if they would see this and what they would think of it. Because for what I know about the character, this felt glorious. I can't even really say a return to form because she was there in Suicide Squad. It just was, the male gaze.
Was so muddled. Yeah, the whole movie was so muddled. The male gaze was stifling.
In like a retro way. I mean, I'm going to mention the 90s for a third time this conversation, but it's like, it really felt like a relic where it was kind of like, man.
Like watching her put on those booty shorts and like the daddy's little girl t-shirt. I mean, do I love the aesthetic? Obviously, I love the aesthetic, but I love the aesthetic in Birds of Prey so much more.
There was a playfulness, and I love the costume changes, and it had a very female gaze. And I don't think at the expense of the male gaze, because that's another thing that the conversation kept saying was like how they weren't sexy. And I said during the movie, I was like, imagine thinking Mary Elizabeth Winstead isn't sexy in this movie.
With a crossbow and that weird silvery makeup she had around her eyes. But the thing is it's not deliberately sexy to men. No one's tits are out.
It's not the way the character has been portrayed in comics. That's another thing. Because we're still dealing with, it's like the X-Men dilemma, where it's like, at a certain point, these are spangly jumpsuits. I mean, what are we really having these people wearing?
Well, it's the type of thing where it's like, nobody's boobs are as big as their head. They're not, like, out for you to, like, goggle at. I hate to be so dismissive and derivative, but it's like, this is based on the information that these internet men are giving me. And the only thing I can imagine is that it's not sexy the way they want it to be. And instead it's kind of threatening because Mary Elizabeth Winstead is competent and she's after revenge. And she's like, doesn't need a strong man to save her, nor does Harley Quinn.
For a group of people that is constantly complaining about how fragile their opposition is, it's like, man.
Yeah, you want to talk about a snowflake.
Projecting, but I did want to get a little bit more into specifics with this movie.
Sure.
I loved the performances.
Yeah, same.
I think this is a role Margot Robbie is born to play. Because it's a tall order, I think. It's a lot. The voice, because she's borderline annoying. Like, she's borderline obnoxious a handful of times. And it's like to be able to pull that off. And I thought it was a interesting use of an R rating. It was not too much. Like, I would call this a light R.
Yeah, it was really just language.
Well, there was some violence. There was not a lot of gore. And the most upsetting thing about the movie is virtually off screen, but it's that black face cuts people's faces off.
Yeah.
Up to and including presumably a young girl. That's probably the weirdest and the worst part about it.
Well, I didn't love that they kept on saying they were going to gut Cassandra Cain, but they didn't actually do it, so.
Well, because I even leaned over to you in the middle of the movie and I was kind of like, however gross it may be, the other option is easier than gutting her.
For sure. Just let her poop, you guys.
Yeah. Another thing that I really liked about it is it was still budgeted pretty high. It was like a $97 million. And I was like, that
I saw 75.
Did you see 75?
Yeah. Oh, 84. Okay.
I mean, that's still rather refreshing coming off of, Endgame.
Or like $250 million Batman versus Superman.
Yeah. Well, we reached a point where when I was watching this, I was like, this is so nice to just be given a story and to have it be, about these characters and stuff and about me feeling like I'm getting to like I'm entering a new world. Because one of the movies this movie reminded me of a little bit was the first Iron Man movie, in that it was such tangible stakes. And which is funny because didn't you say the cinematographer also did the first Iron Man movie?
The first two and a bunch of other stuff too. Will recognized his name, and so I looked him up last night. He works the most with Darren Aronofsky. He did Black Swan,
and it's the kind of thing that we've criticized DC up until this point, where it was like they kept trying to meet Marvel, and Marvel organically built up over a decade, a 10-year span.
Well, and they also had a solid plan going into it.
And DC was rapidly playing catch up and at the same time trying to outdo Marvel. And it just was not working. And it took them a long time to get to a place where like, okay, let's start. Because we said, oh God, I think last year where we were like, so far we have Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. We have Jason Momoa's Aquaman. We have Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. Potentially Zachary Levi's Shazam. It's like we have a solid foundation.
Well, and I never want to forget Ezra Miller's Flash.
Yeah.
Because he was great.
Yeah. So we do have a solid foundation. Now use it, like actually use it. And so this to me, I really wish that this could and would have been a bigger hit because I think it's going to underperform.
Yeah. Because it already is. It for sure is going to underperform. I
want to send that message. I want to reinforce that message that to go ahead and, you know, start with quality, start not necessarily small, but with somewhere to build. And I feel like the executives, the moral for the executives is going to be go back to Batman versus Superman because that made a lot of money.
Was a tragedy. So let's please not.
One of the things that it kind of did was it kind of reframed Harley Quinn as she's not a good guy and she's not, I don't know, is she an anti-hero?
I don't think so. For the most part, for me, I am very unfamiliar with the comics, but for what it's worth, I am on Tumblr and I see things on Tumblr, and Tumblr really likes Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. So I've seen a lot of stuff about that, their relationship specifically, but I would imagine that the Harley Quinn character is relatively the same. She is like a chaos agent, but she's like a chaos agent who still has like a moral code about like women and children.
It's at a point with chaotic good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's that one of the comics.
She's more of like a chaotic neutral.
I think it's good because there's two separate comic strips I saw. One of them was some guy was abusing a dog and she like rescued the dog and presumably killed the guy. And then another one was,
as you should.
Another one was a guy was like, God, I can't remember because it was like, again, like Tumblr. So 5 years ago when I saw this, but it was like a guy was like menacing a young girl. And I want to say actually Batman was there and Batman like stopped it. And then Harley Quinn came in and killed the guy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, again, as you should.
Well, because that's the thing with Wonder Woman. They talk about how Superman like kind of famously doesn't kill people. And so there was a scene where he was like, I'm not going to kill you. I don't kill people. But Wonder Woman was like, I do.
Amazing. Women know how to get things done is my point here. It's sort of like that goes back to like one of my favorite dynamics, which is Daredevil and Karen Page, because stupid fucking Matt Murdock constantly is like, we can't kill him. And meanwhile, the blunt force head trauma is like, whatever. And Karen's like, I'll fucking kill a bitch if they're going to kill me. I dig that kind of dynamic.
Like the scene specifically when she's going into the police station, it was very blatantly dummy rounds. Like she was firing glitter bombs at these police officers.
And like
so
beanbags.
Like, they made a point to show that she's not going in and just murdering cops. You know what I mean? It's like, and I thought that was an interesting sort of like reframing of the character and the material. Still talking about the R rating, I'm curious. I liked it. I mean, I was fine with it. I was glad with it. I'm hoping that we're kind of working, not necessarily all to that. Like, I don't want all of them to be rated R, but
sure.
I do wonder if it needed to be. I mean, do you think this would have fared better as a PG-13?
So I'm not sure. And I was seeing a conversation on Twitter between two of our friends, Colby Mack and Kevin Brackett. And I was kind of curious because Kevin Brackett was saying that it's doing bad because teens couldn't go see it. And I was like, I know that I don't look 17 anymore, but I have literally never been carded at a movie theater. Even when I was 15 and I had tickets to an R-rated movie and I was going with friends, no one ever asked for my driver's license. You know what I mean? So I can't. And plus now you just like buy your tickets online. And you just put the kids that work at the movie theater are not trying to enforce the law. Do you know what I mean? So I can't imagine how that would actually be that big of a detractor, I guess, from the box office. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's why.
I do think it is, because we're not in the Midwest. I mean, we're not. And also there's like imaginary boundaries. I mean, some people when they're 15 are just accepting that I can't go see that. You know what I mean? It's like, I think it is a detractor, but.
All right. Well, in that case, I wish that I would have preferred if they had cut the language and let it be PG-13, but Margot Robbie really wanted it to be rated R, so I'm not sure.
And I mean, I want the Harley fucking Quinn.
She also, one of the things that she said that was the most interesting to me is she was like, so often these like PG-13 girl gang movies are presented as rom-coms and like chick flicks in a way that they are not. And she was like, I didn't want it to be that.
Yeah, I don't want to reopen the door on this conversation, but this is a point. The good point is this is a point that I want to make, but I've said it to you before. It's something that Kara Brown said when from Keep It, when she was still on Keep It, about how she was watching a movie or something. I think it was when they were talking about Wonder Woman, and it was like, can like a woman lead a big movie like this?
Yeah.
And Mandy Moore was on the episode, and she was like, didn't we just do this like 10 years or 5 years ago with Hunger Games and Jennifer Lawrence and stuff? And Kara Brown realized that she was like, it's particularly straight white men, where it's like, since everything is for them, they've never had to learn how to empathize. Like, they've never had to learn how to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And so Kara's like, I've been doing that my entire life, where I've had to watch movies through the perspective of a straight white man. But she was like, and
learn to empathize with that person so that you can make it through the movie in a way
understand their struggle. Yeah, in
a way that they are just like, well, this movie has a black lady in it. It's clearly not for me. And it's like, do you think, though, you might gain something from experiencing it? Like,
because it's what you were mentioning earlier, where it's like, this movie absolutely is more geared towards women.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it's at the expense of the male audience. I don't think
so either.
I mean, they weren't talking about like their tampons and stuff, which even that, it's like, get over it, man.
Look, even if they were talking about their tampons, grow the fuck up. I just like don't know what else to say.
Because there was a moment in this movie that I don't think I've ever seen before in an action film.
Are you going to talk about the hair tie?
Yes.
I'm going to lose my mind about the hair tie.
They're fighting at the end. And that is a complaint. That is a flaw, I will say. I don't know how I think the movie should have fixed it, or if they should have, but it takes too long for the birds of prey to be the birds of prey.
Yeah, that's the point where I'm with you, and I say, why didn't we have a Harley Quinn movie first, where we do, and then, because if it was just called Harley Quinn, and then we do, and it was the exact same movie, like the Emancipation of Harley Quinn, and it's the exact same movie, I wouldn't have been expecting a team up sooner.
But back to the hair tie, yeah, they're fighting in this fun house, and Black Canary's hair is all over the place. She was really great too, and she's the other one that I was like, explain to me where specifically this movie isn't sexy or appealing to a male gaze.
Yeah.
Like the exact moment. They're fighting, and her hair is like all over the place and in her face. And Harley just tosses her a hair tie.
Well, she comes up to her and asks her, she's like, do you, like, hair tie? Like, you need a hair tie? And she's like, oh my God, yeah. And she gives her one. And it's amazing. And that's another thing that one of our friends on Twitter, I think her name is Keely Kaiser. She went fucking viral as hell. She got like 200,000 likes with this tweet. And she was like, God. She was like, I've never seen a moment like this in a movie before. And it is such an awesome girl gang moment where, like, if the flowing hair is very beautiful, and like, I'm not trying to talk shade on Wonder Woman or anything, you know, I don't want Diana in a ponytail.
Well, Wonder Woman's also magic, you know what I mean?
She is also magic, but there's something to be said for Black Canary is having a hard time with her beautiful flowing locks, and she needs to tie them back. And I think that's such a realistic moment in the midst of, you know, a movie and a whole genre that is very infrequently realistic in that way. To have her, because Harley Quinn has her pigtails still the whole time, and Huntress has short hair. So, and Rosie Perez Montoya, she already has her hair pulled back. So it's like, Canary's the only one that's like having that specific problem, and to see it addressed in a movie in the year 2020 for the first time is amazing.
It's also a blip. We're talking about it like it's a plot point. Like it's
definitely not a plot point. It takes 3 seconds, but it was just seeing it there. I was like, women did this. Women made this movie.
Well, there's another thing, and it kind of goes along the lines with the whole Black Mask. I don't remember what they were calling him early. Ewan McGregor. The Black Mask was kind of a reveal. So I guess spoiler alert. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think him putting the mask on is in one of the trailers.
Okay. Well, also spoiler alert, from here on out, we're probably going to talk about some things, but it's like the cutting off the face where it was like, we got it. We got what was happening without it being gratuitous. And a similar thing happened when he was menacing that woman who was like laughing in the club. Where he like made her get up and dance, and then he made the other guy cut her dress off.
Easily the most uncomfortable part of the movie.
But, well, it completely sold the scene without having to without having to watch it. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
It certainly sold his menace specifically, but it was like, in a lesser movie, in a different movie, in a movie 10 years ago.
In a not Game of Thrones way.
She would have been raped on the table.
Yeah.
And like this was a much smoother way to get through that.
Yeah. And so it was like it completely sold its point without the gratuitous nature. And
right. 100%.
Because remember that criticism about Game of Thrones where they were talking about like the sex violence and stuff. And they were like, it's to depict history. They're like, this stuff actually happened and it's meant to be like historically accurate and blah, blah, blah. And somebody was like, okay, well then why aren't they shitting in the streets? And somebody was like, ooh, I don't want to see that.
I remember somebody being, well, that's not sexy. And everybody was like, and being raped is?
So I do think that part of it was interesting. And I thought everybody was good. I thought Mary Elizabeth Winstead was very good. She's one of those, she's kind of like Brittany Snow, where she pops up every couple of years with like a dynamite role and then disappears for a while.
She was very funny in this in a way that like when you're introduced at first, you don't think she's going to be funny. And then it was hysterical.
Rosie Perez was good too. That was kind of like an out of nowhere, but it felt right. I was like, oh, okay. And
I love
what
Rosie
was her
Perez,
fucking t-shirt?
It said I shaved my balls for this.
Yeah.
That's so stupid. I don't want to get into like a whole different conversation right now, but part of me, after having read some interviews and court transcripts, I think Rosie Perez got caught up in the Harvey Weinstein thing a little in the 90s, and that's why she kind of went away forever.
Okay. I thought good fight scenes, good action scenes, I
thought so too.
They were lower to the ground. They were more grounded, but Yeah,
but I really enjoyed that because despite the fact that Harley Quinn is unhinged and Huntress has trained as an assassin and Black Canary has like voice powers, they are still just women. They're not magic.
Her voice thing was really interesting, and it looked good.
It looked
because
very
there was a part of me where I was like, why isn't she doing this? And the movie addresses it. It like wipes her out. But and also it kind of seemed as if this was maybe one of the first times she had done it.
Well, yeah, because Rosie Perez at one point was like, if you inherited your mother's powers. And so there was like a question about it.
I did want to say that I actually was not a fan of most of the music.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't like it. They were selling us in the trailers with kind of, I don't know what to call it. Well, first of all, it's Oh So Quiet, which is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
And I keep wanting to say big band. It's not big band, but it's like kind of like jazzy
it's kind of
60s.
Big band, but yeah, it's like jazzy Motown more.
Kind of. And I wanted more of that. I wanted sort of the clash or the dichotomy, because there's even the song Sway, the da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Da-da. That's in this movie and soundtrack, but it's like a new modern rap R&B version. And I was like, oh, I wish they just did the actual version. Like, and the Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. It's like, I know Megan Thee Stallion's like a thing now, so, and I don't know enough about her to critique it, but I was not really feeling that.
You're like, I'm not really into it.
I kind of wish it was the Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Like,
yeah, sure.
That's just maybe personal. I don't know. I didn't love that part. I did like the color in this movie, and it was very colorful in a way that it didn't feel like being clobbered over the head.
Yeah.
And I liked, I thought the handful of times that there were like digital vistas, they looked excellent. I loved Bruce. More Bruce. I mean, maybe not a ton, but maybe that was a budget thing.
I would imagine, yes. Will specifically said that they were very expensive to make the hyena.
Because it was good. It was very good.
Yeah, he looked amazing. He looked really good.
She's supposed to have 2, but we'll see where that goes. I also loved it was kind of like a metaphor, I guess, where she's talking about Joker in the beginning and losing Joker and all of that. But it's sort of like she embodies all of that into her sandwich.
Yeah.
That was such a good bit. And that sandwich.
The sandwich bit in general was like gold throughout. But yeah, her describing the sandwich, and it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it just like the way it was filmed, it was so fetishized. Like,
yeah, it was, and that's again, I think goes back to the female gaze of this movie, and potentially why men are like not responding to it is because she's fetishizing a food item and not another man or something, or even a woman, which would be appealing to a man. But it's like she's fetishizing this thing that she can buy or create or acquire on her own
herself. Yeah.
Yes, for herself only, and it's not to make anyone feel better, and it's also kind of trash food. It's very I can understand the instinct to be mad about it, but to me, it was just perfect. It was hilarious. It felt real. It felt like what I want to eat after a hangover.
That shot from the trailer, it looks like a massive moment where she's like
I thought that was going to be in the climax.
Yeah. In the actual movie, it's because her sandwich got knocked out of her hands before she could eat it and falls on the asphalt. And I liked it. And I think it could have been better. I think it could have been, I don't know if funnier is the word, maybe punched up a little bit more.
Because I thought it was pretty funny. I laughed a decent amount.
I really would like to see more. I'm curious what's going to happen. I'm curious if this is going to have legs and what kind. It has a very high Rotten Tomatoes score. It was at 90 at one point. Is it in the 80s now?
I think it's at 83, but it's certified fresh.
Well, there's an interesting thing about Rotten Tomatoes is that if you look at the average, because we've talked about this, it's the flaw with Rotten Tomatoes. And overall, I do like Rotten Tomatoes because so far it's the best system we have. But that doesn't mean it's a perfect system.
No, definitely not.
Because what people misconstrue it and they think that means this movie is 83% good. And that's not what that means. It just means that everybody agrees it's good.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean it is that good. Because if you look at the average review is like 6.9. So I was like, if this was a 69%, I would think that would be perfect. Absolutely. Do you know what I mean?
I don't totally agree. I think Will said the same thing, and I think it was better than that.
Was 69 still fresh?
Yeah, but I think it was better than that. I liked it more than a D.
No, that's not how I view that. 69 doesn't mean D to me.
I know how you view it, but I can't think that way. Like I can't switch my brain to
like a D is 30 or 40%.
See, that's just like hard failing to me.
No, a D is 30 or 40%.
But again, I really mostly don't subscribe to Rotten Tomatoes because of that specifically. But I mean, it is sitting right now at an 82 and an 84 audience score. So
I'm impressed with the audience score. I think I was prepared for like 20%.
Yeah,
but
same.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid and exhausting. I cannot believe that.
I agree so hard.
So I want to stress how good Ewan McGregor, and actually even more so for me, Chris Messina was.
We could talk about that blonde hair for the rest of the episode.
Hot. Oh my God. And the scene where he was like showing his scars to Harley Quinn. Holy moly. Yeah. Chris Messina was so unhinged in this way. And you're right. It's like, there's no reason for why they shouldn't have been making out, or like one of them absolutely should have been blowing the other at one point. Like,
it was very clear from subtext that they had a relationship, like more so than just like a mob boss and his lackey. Like there was like touching and stuff, but it was very mild.
Do you want to talk about Ewan McGregor's pajamas with pictures of himself on them?
Yes, because they're amazing. And I also thought the faces looked a little like Tom Hiddleston.
It was like silk white pajamas with like pink portraiture.
It was like twill fabric, but it was himself.
Yeah.
His fashion in the whole movie was a lot of fun.
I actually won't forgive the movie for killing both of them. That they needed. I
agree. I feel like it was way too... Okay, well, so here's the thing. Ewan McGregor for sure is dead because he got blown into many pieces. Chris Messina could be alive because he got stabbed a couple of times, but we didn't actually like witness him take his last breath, I don't think. So we'll see. Because Will told me that Victor Zsasz is like actually a big deal.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I can't guarantee, but I would not be surprised if we saw him again. I just mostly had a really good time. I'm gonna probably watch this one a lot of times. I really hope, because I know that I'm not getting the Charlie's Angels franchise that I wanted, I hope that this one does go, and maybe because it's like built into an existing universe, it might have more of a shot, but yeah. I liked it. So are we talking about the
Super Bowl halftime show. A full week after the fact. I loved it. I thought they were great. I thought mostly everything people were saying about it. There was this is apparently a very backlash heavy episode, but there was very, very stupidly a backlash to this that I swear to God, it didn't even dawn on me while I was watching it. And they were calling it too sexy. And I'm
sorry. They hired Jennifer Lopez and Shakira. What were you expecting?
Well, sure, it was sexy. It was absolutely sexy. But for me, the issue, I was so offended at the people being offended that I was like, and furthermore, what is this weird collective amnesia that it appears like specifically white Christian people have, where they're like, I tuned into the MTV VMAs for a family show. What's all this garbage? And it's like, this bin like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah, I resent the implication that I don't know how I want to say this, but like watching men obliterate each other on a sports field is not good family entertainment either.
I tweeted a couple of things and I was like, I want to know what specifically about the halftime show was inappropriate for families or whatever. Well, and again, I think families could be watching it, but what about the Super Bowl is for children? First of all, what about the Super Bowl is for children and families? It's like, as a byproduct, a lot of them are watching it, but I was like, it's not family entertainment. It's not engineered. Yeah. It's not like the 4th of July. Like, yeah,
at any given moment, you could watch a man's bone come through his leg.
Yeah, and then the Budweiser commercials and like what about drinking and raucous like contact sports and sexy cheerleaders and all of that? That kind of boggled my mind. And
so I don't want to get into another whole conversation, but it's all very guarded, specific language where they're like, this isn't for my family. And what they mean is, this isn't for my white conservative,
my sensibilities,
performative, patriotic family. And that's what the Super Bowl is good for, is for performing your patriotism out loud for other people to see and congratulate you on in a way that is so disgusting to me, the child of 2 veterans. I just like, it is horrifying to me that is what people think this stuff is about. And I'm also not the type of person who's like, don't have a barbecue on Memorial Day. So I can see a middle ground, but using this very specific, gross language about how it's not for my family when what you mean is 2 brown ladies got up and did a sexy dance and that made me uncomfortable because I was going to have to explain to my kids what happened. I don't have sympathy.
Yeah. People are so surprised that I like the Super Bowl as much as I do, and because I don't like sports and I don't like football. But I like any time that collectively society kind of comes to a halt to celebrate something. I think it's one of the better parts of us as humanity. I like holidays. I like any reason to be with people and to collectively enjoy something. And I do a little bit like the kind of bro-y, like I said, ruckusness, the beer, the trashy food. It's like, for me, it's kind of like playing pretend for like 4 hours once or twice a year. Do you know what I mean? And so I do find joy in that. Especially when they throw me a bone like Shakira and Jennifer Lopez in the halftime show. Yeah,
but they are throwing you specifically a bone. Like other people want the Rolling Stones back up there.
Oh, well, sometimes. I mean, maybe. And that's the thing is...
Yes, but other people want the Rolling Stones, and then the next year they want Bruce Springsteen, and then the year after that, if Tom Petty were still alive, they want him.
I think this notion of too sexy, because I mentioned, I was like, Jennifer Lopez was wearing a bodysuit, like a flesh-colored bodysuit.
Flesh-colored is the thing you keep skipping over.
No, I understand
because it looked like she was nude except for the jewels.
No, but that's welcome to show business. Like...
But what about the children?
They're fine. That's why I was like, I want to know specifically, because do you remember when Beyonce had that one costume in her show and they were like censoring it on the news because it had like diamond nipples on the corset? Yeah. And I was like, the kids are fine. I promise you. I promise you they can handle it. Like, and it's that part where it's like, and that's where we got, this is where we start getting into like the awful territory, is because like you were saying, the coded language. Sexy is one thing, but I think also it was very racist because...
Yeah, of course.
This stuff is the dance. They were talking about all the gyrating and thrusting. And I was like, that's part of their cultural dance expression. Like the movements Shakira was doing, it's very Latin. It's very Middle Eastern. It's like, this is the way that other cultures move. And so it's like, you can't criticize it from that level. And then, I don't know, it reeks of ignorance, because people were talking about Shakira doing the tongue thing. And sure, on the surface, that was funny, whatever, make a couple of jokes about it. But it was like, I kind of knew what she was doing. You know what I mean? I was like...
Yeah, to me, it's like, just because your boring white ass dances with a fucking shoebox in between you for room for the Holy Spirit doesn't mean that other people do.
Well, and here's the other thing that has always a little bit, and it's the approach my mom kind of took with us, because I've said several times that my mom was way more protective of us when it came to violence than sex.
As it should be.
Because she was very kind of like, let the kids, like... let them watch this Victoria's Secret fashion show. You know what I mean? It's like, in order for children to get it, they have to already understand. So it's like, if a young kid is watching something tittillating, or, well, for instance, the pole dancing, people were mad at Jennifer Lopez for pole dancing. And it's like, you have to understand what pole dancing is in order to be triggered by that. She didn't do anything other than what she was doing was acrobatics. It was no difference than gymnastics. Like,
yeah, also she learned all those fucking skills for Hustlers. You think she's just going to let them go to waste now?
Yeah, completely. I was like, there was nothing about her performing acrobatic feats involved. Because would it have been different if it was a silk veil, a silk scarf hanging from the ceiling? Or, like I said, it was like trapeze artistry and stuff. I was like, it's circus pole dancing. And it's actually incredibly hard, and it's also incredibly beautiful. Have you ever actually just seen pole dancing routines? They're impressive. Like,
yeah. Also, it just further demonizes sex work.
Well, that's the center of the shrubbery maze. But
yeah,
having said all of that and not going much longer, I loved it. I think Shakira is so interesting and weird, and people, because Louis Vuitton was talking about how she really brings like wild horse girl energy to things. That she, like, the way she moves.
There's like a feral quality to Shakira.
And there's just something about like She-Wolf that is so intrinsically and unspokenly queer. It's like that song, There's a She-Wolf in the Closet. That song is for gay people. Like, and on top of that, because I even threw some shade at Jennifer Lopez, and I love Jennifer Lopez. I stan Jennifer Lopez. We respect her in this house. But I was like, oh, they shouldn't have let the actual musician go first. Because Shakira's like playing guitar and playing drums and stuff. And I mean, it was an absolute masterwork. And I was so proud of both of them, but Jennifer Lopez, because this was her moment. And you knew there wasn't a doubt in my mind that she wasn't going to nail it. Because it's like, because she's not going to the Oscars. So this was her night.
Which is unbelievable.
So she was never going to win. Just throw her the nomination.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. I thought it was thrilling. I forgot how many... Well, I was going to say I forgot how many good songs Jennifer Lopez had, but even more so, I forgot how many good songs Shakira had. And I was so excited when she sang the Africa song, the Waka Waka from the World Cup. I loved that song. But, and actually it was surprisingly political. You know, I mean, they had literal children in cages in the show. You should watch it. It's good.
I mean, I've seen like clips and stuff. I missed that though.
It was subtle, honestly, but yeah.
Subtle children in cages.
Yeah. They were like orbs.
Okay.
They had bars though.
Sure.
I've had a lot with, Madonna and then Katy Perry and Lady Gaga and I mean, Beyonce, Jesus Christ. Beyonce twice, Coldplay. Like, I'm the one person who likes Coldplay, apparently. But
I love Coldplay.
Yeah, well, the party I was at, everybody was complaining about Coldplay. So.
Everybody can go fuck themselves. Coldplay's great.
Well, that was Birds of Prey.
Plus a little bit about the Super Bowl.
Halftime show.
All right. Well, as always, you can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching, Instagram @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. You can also follow along with some weekly TV conversations on our Patreon, and everything links out from our website, soimwatching.com. We're also doing something very exciting for the next 12 episodes for Katie Keene. We are on an app called TV Co., and we will be doing live watch parties every Thursday at 8 p.m. So if you are watching Katie Keene, you can watch along with us and you can chat with us on the feature.
Like you can literally watch us watching Katie Keene. Yeah,
you watch us watch Katie Keene while you watch Katie Keene. So it's very cool. It's a new thing we're doing. And like I said, everything links out from our website, soimwatching.com. And other than that, you can rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. And that's it for us. Bye.